Dragon's new Tiger 131 kit. This has come out very recently. I got this today, so I figured I'll just do it right away. I know this has a lot of similarities with the Wittmann kit that just came out, so you know, I normally talk about kit lineage, and with these it's relatively simple because there haven't been all that many. You know, it started with 6252, then 6253. And then, you know, there have been some basically reboxes of those with 6406 and 6600. And then, you know, 6700 the mid. Most recently 6730 with the Wittmann kit, which this has the most in common with. And essentially, it's been just a long progression of, like, evolution, if you will, with these kits. A lot of the sprues stay the same, and they add in one or two every now and then, but not too much changes. So this is a very, very popular subject. I myself built this vehicle with a Tamiya kit last year. So I'm a little annoyed that now there's a kit for it, but that's what always happens. This is running for $80 right now, so that's pretty expensive. I don't know that... I don't know, I have a lot of issues with how much that costs, but... Let's take a look at what's in here, though. So, marking options, they give you 131, and then these two tanks I have no idea what are. This is what I call post-initial or early, so with the early 5.0s and stuff. So there were some of these in other areas, and maybe that's what they're showing. I'm not sure if they have optional, like not putting the step in the handle on. There's their built-up version of that. So the back of the box, they've got a bunch of stuff. Some of it is new. These 5.0s are definitely new. I can't exactly tell what all is. I know it's not too much different from the Wittmann one, though. So the instructions have quite a lot of blue stuff. But the thing I want to talk about before I really look at these is these, which is the instructions for 6730. I can't actually fit them both in shot, but if you look here, you can see that this stuff is the same, this stuff is the same, you know, that sprue is the same. One thing I noticed, that's the same. This is the Tiger late sprue, the P sprue that's in a lot of Tigers. That is not in here. Everything else is pretty much the same if you compare these, except there is new stuff. Let's see if I can find it. More than likely, this N sprue, I don't recognize this at all. And J, now that J is right there. Possibly just N here. Maybe that K sprue. I wish, no, this K is right there. Yeah, from just by sight real quick, it looks like this is the only thing that's different. And that's worth mentioning, because I talked to a few guys that either said they had this on pre-order or were going to get it and didn't understand that it was essentially just a altered version of this kit. So, let us see how it says to build the thing. So, step 1, already a good sign. One problem with Dragon Tigers, well, I hate that this is still multiple steps, but this here, if you see this star shape, how this one points straight back, and then you've got these two and these two. Tamiya has always done that correctly, right there. But Dragon has not. Dragons were sort of just cockeyed, so this has been corrected, finally, that's great. So here's their exhaust assembly. Okay, torsion bars and everything else seem to be relatively simple. Here it's calling out to leave one front wheel off, I believe, if you're doing a 504 Tiger at this particular place in April of '43. So whatever image they had, and I think it's of 131, it had a wheel off. So that's what they're doing. When it was captured, all the times that we've seen it, it always has all the wheels on. So, when I talked to Dave Burden about this, he said they were basing the decals and stuff on this kit on how it was when it was captured, not how it is now. So here is the idler adjusting. I'm not sure why they're giving us... They're just telling you can pick, you know, loose or tight. Real simple stuff. Swing arm, for that going on, I always wait till the end to do that, just so I can tighten up. I always use aftermarket tracks, so. Nothing in here is looking particularly different than what I'm used to seeing. That's different though. There's a 2-piece box for that toolbox. And then you're putting separate frame on for the mud flap. That's a little different. And here it's being very specific about that, I believe. Calling out some tiny PE right there. Let's see what else they got. Don't like this. This is it having, if this is what I think it is, they're having you cut out the shape and remove the plastic to create earlier mud flaps instead of just giving you earlier mud flaps. Let me adjust my lights a little too direct. So, I don't care for that. Yep, everything else in here looks pretty standard. That little top of the thing's back on, or back in. This was missing from some kits, I guess, for a while. Can't figure out how this works. There we go. Good Lord. Okay. The hatches and periscopes seem the same in here. That's interesting. They're having you remove something in relation to the tow cables, I believe. There's the FIFO setup. Looks pretty close to the way it was in the Wittmann Tiger. They're having you put this on separate, which is good, if you choose to, as they do with the headlight mountings. Machine gun looks the same as it ever does. I don't care for this. They like bend this down. Why not just give me the right piece for that? Because that's just a weird. Bending plastic is a strange thing to ask someone to do. Let's see. Yeah, according to this, it comes with a dust cover and the deep weighting cover, which is good. All this is the same. I'm not familiar with that diagram though. This may have to do with plugging up the holes. There were holes. Let me see if the Tamiya one has it. Above this visor. Actually, this one just doesn't have them. Actually, this DAC one does. Those holes. You can either have these open or plugged. So that's an option in here. Then it's calling out, there's a Lake Ladoga variant from 502 that would have whatever that is, and a 505 in Ukraine, which also would, but I think 131 would not, because there it's saying 131. So you'll have to pay a little bit of attention. This is a strange way of calling these out. But there's the 5 hose going together. Yeah, so just keep an eye on stuff. You must be vigilant. That's finishing the hose assembly. Tow cables, all very similar to the way it was done in the Wittmann one. Now here's our new 5-hole assembly, right here. That's very cool. You've got etch and the separate cans here, and this, no stupid mold seam. This is fantastic. I spent a good month trying to 3D print some of these 5-holes for nothing, because these are amazing. Also, this comes with a scissor periscope, which early Tigers did have, at least a mount for, so they give you one in here. Another sort of 3-in-1 style callouts for which Tiger you're doing, whether or not it has lights installed there. S-mine launcher placement. Some very specific photo etch to hold these 5-holes up, which looks very good. The shovel and the side skirts, nothing complicated there. I think, yeah, like Tiger 131 and one of the other ones does have this, and the third Tiger option doesn't. I wonder why they didn't market this as a 3-in-1. They could have. It's interesting. Same gun assembly we've seen forever. That's fine. I like it, so I don't mind. The turrets are getting a little different with this piece here that attaches to this. Here's our workable escape hatch if you so choose to. Then I think this is new, the notch for locking the turret in place. Slightly different seats in this one as well, for the loader at least. There's the scissor periscope going on, which I am not putting on a Tiger because that's silly. That's about all that's different. The majority of this looks the same as it ever does. The cupola hatch looks the same as usual, but very, very good. They're having one variant, the 505th Ukraine one, cuts off the thing that holds the hatch open correctly. So if this was gone, this blue part, it would open all the way instead of, if I can pull this guy off. That's how an early Tiger's hatch is supposed to sit. A lot of guys, actually, I see model them, do them wrong. They should sit at that angle, because there's a little piece on there that bumps into this, and it sits right like that. So if that piece was gone, it would open sideways. Which is interesting, I guess. Smoke launchers, extra tracks. I missed the step where they're calling out. No, there's the step right there. Bank, which I made out of spare PE when I built this myself. Tow cables, tracks. I guess that's it. Marking options are the famous 504th 131 from Bovington, a 502nd, which is Autocarius's unit from Lake Ladoga in March of 43. Normally you see these guys with the initials, not these type. That's kind of cool. And then this guy, who I'm not familiar with at all, but apparently they had a really early unit or vehicle in Ukraine in 44. So this thing, it's interesting that it lasted that long. Parts in the box. The first thing you will notice is we get this little DS cactus, which you might think to yourself, hey, that's a cute little diorama piece because it was in Tunisia. That's cool. It annoyed me slightly because I already still had one of these in the spares box from the Super Kit Panzer IV. And you can actually tell, you can see the color difference. This is a darker tone than this. This is the new recipe, quote, DS, so this is a little more flimsy. This guy's a little bit more stiff. I think for a cactus, the older one would be better. But if you're in the DS Cactus, well, now you have two options, not just that old Panzer IV kit. It looks fine, I mean, for a 135th Cactus. These kind of things don't really sell me, but, you know, it's cool. Nice little thought. The decals and stuff I did not open ahead of time, like a fool. So, this is new, sort of. Your standard Tiger PE sheet normally looks like this. Now I've cut out some stuff already. So this is where the boxes for the fans would be, these two guys here. There's always some stuff in the middle, and then these little side bits for the inside of that vent thing. And that's like all there is. So what they've done is essentially just add a little bit to that guy with the two little pieces for the FIFO filters. So that's cool, it's changed a bit. Annoyingly, I don't know if they're supposed to be pre-bent. Sorry, I'm doing that off camera. These guys are in there together, at least I hope there's two of them. Yeah, there is. And they're just in one bag together. Then these other two guys are just in separate little bags. I think they're still technically quote-unquote pre-formed, but I wish they would be in those little black cases that they used to be in. Decal sheet is just this here. 131 in the correct sort of color and font. Looks a little different than the Tamiya version. And we got 121 and some broken up. Those are probably for the 502nd vehicle, that big 100 thing. That's the 505th logo right there. 504th would be these little square things. So the tracks were packaged differently this time, only in that they were nestled up against the side of the box, like this, not diagonal. Which my first reaction was then, are these shorter than they used to be? So here's the ones from the Wittmann kit. And they don't look any different in length. I don't think that gets them shot all the way, but they seem the same. Yeah. So that seems fine. So they were just like this. They don't seem crushed. Let me rip one out real quick. And I've said previously I don't use DS myself, but I'm all for them being in better shape and being transported better. So if they fix that issue, because they just weren't being crumpled, crap. There you go. There's a little bit of bend right in that spot. These are also like the really flimsy type, which is good. So only that one little spot had some bent guide horns. That's better. Still not good, but better. And that was simply by putting them in a different part of the box up against something. So that's what the tracks look like. Plastic bits. I'll start with the turret this time. Very similar to the way the Wittmann Tiger turret was. So, rolled steel, almost not noticeable, it's so fine, if there is some. That annoys me a bit. There are sort of raised marks for spare tracks, you can see them right there. 131 didn't have those, so I'll have to sand those off. So I'm guessing this is exactly that piece from the Wittmann Tiger, because that one came with spare tracks, and 131, I mean, especially if you're marketing it as 131, did not have tracks inside of the turret. So this is that turret, which is a nice newer piece, and perhaps they, by putting those notches in there, have altered it in some way. I don't remember from the Wittmann one offhand, but I really wish they didn't have those, because you're going to have to remove them, which will lead to a slightly worse finish. Their hull, there's never anything wrong with these hulls. They're great. The scalloping is correct. The plates are all divided the correct way. The details are fantastic, and they pop out. They look like separate glued-on parts. You know, I've reviewed a bunch of Tigers. There's not much else I can say about this hull. It's fantastic. It's a great base. It's not warped. They actually, from what I've read, they mold it slightly in like this on purpose so that it sort of holds the pieces better when you build it. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and this thing is still good. One thing I did notice that's different about this than some other ones, though, sorry about the screech, you glue in these escape hatches, which Dragon doesn't normally do. I think Academy's interior one had separate, but these, that's a good thing to do because then you can alter them and make different variants with different things, so now you have to glue that in. Some of this will be super familiar to us and some won't, well, a bit won't be. These are the 5 hoses they used on the Wittmann one. The texture is basically perfect to scale and correct. Very good hoses. And I prefer this to the fabric hoses. I keep showing this thing, and I'm not exactly proud of it either, but I did the wrong length on my Tamiya one, and then it caused the hoses to kind of shoot up and whatever, so having them in plastic makes it a little bit more foolproof for idiots. These are the covers for the fuel tanks and the loader's hatch bracket. This is a relatively newer sprue. Parts aren't necessarily new, but the way that it's packaged is slightly, because they had to re-add some stuff. This was originally on like a late turret roof sprue, and they don't always include that now, so then this ended up on this little guy. And that's why he's molded together with this. You can tell it was like a tiny little tool and a tiny little tool. Now they make them together and give it to you that way. This is an older one. This has been around forever. You'll see this in every Tiger review I've done. There's our fuel tanks and where the fans go. Parts for the driver and radio ops hatch. Headlights. Bow machine gun. That's the part they told you to bend in the instructions, and it looks correct already to me. The fans, radiators, and then the bow machine gun. All of it still looks good to me. It's an old sprue, but again, if there's nothing wrong with it, I don't have a problem with them continuing to use it, because on an actual Tiger, they kept manufacturing the same parts and putting them on lots of vehicles, so I don't mind that. This is a slightly newer-ish one. Here you've got earlier style extensions and the armored covers for the final drives, which is what that is. Sorry, I keep dropping it. These are for the turret, so is this. I think this used to be done in PE and now it's done in plastic. This has to do with their newer turret interior stuff. And then there's a front plate. I'm not sure if we use that one, and some spare track hanger stuff. Relatively new, looks very, very nice. We got 2 of these. That is our wheels. The same as were in the Wittmann kit, which are very, very good. The detail on them is fantastic. I don't have a problem with it at all. There's like the hubs if you're going to leave wheels off. Yeah, this is I think this is only the second time this sprue has been used. The one they used in the mids, I only have one partially being built. I don't have one right in front of me. It was slightly different than this, or just had something added to it. I know it looked different. So this is very, very good. This has only been around since it may be older. Maybe they used it in that old Wittmann Citadel kit, but I've only been getting it since the orange box Tiger, I believe. Yeah. Yep. So that's an engine deck. Two different types of the FIFO mounts, the flat and then the indented. The hose connectors for the FIFO side. Not a whole lot else going on. Some little bits in the toolbox here. These here connect to the end of this. So this is pretty new, at least to me, and there's nothing wrong with it. Very crisp. So far we haven't seen any flash on anything. I don't know that I ever have in a Tiger. Now this, for sure, how do they list it? They just, yep, there is Tiger 1 131. This is the only thing different, absolutely specific to this kit. This is what you're paying $80 for, okay? This is an armored type ring, or whatever you want to call it. It goes in the bottom of the turret, which, by the way, looks fantastic, as I would hope that it does. Here is a slightly different than whatever they'd had before cover for the engines, or the engine hatch, whatever. Barrel cleaning rods. Some interior detail that is slightly different. I know this is a new mount for that loader seat I was talking about. Or this is the new commander seat one, I think. Not sure what that is right there. That's weird. I know that this is the step, and this is the handle. I think mine were slightly, possibly out of scale, but I'm curious how good of a job I did. A little bit fat. And then the handle I know was too big when I did it. I just slashed together whatever I had. And a different loader's hatch by the look of it. And then here's that cool new assembly for these FIFO filters. So, it's such a strange way to do it. So here you have, I want to get this as close as I can. Here you have this part. So this will be facing up that way. Here. Then you put PE on top of that. And then you put this on top of that. And that's what makes them up. So, the Tamiya ones that have been available to us, because these were previously only available, this type of FIFO, in the DAC Tiger, the famous one that now they're re-releasing, but they hadn't until now. It was just announced this month. Here, I was new when I did this, so you see seams here, but what you don't see is there should be a secondary circle in there. Here you can see on one of my 3D prints, that little circle that's catching the light right there. That's why I was trying to 3D print these, is they were seamless, and I wanted that detail in there, which you could do by, you could carve it in, you could do any number of things. But so the top of this one, now, in plastic, there it is, and it's beautiful. And I don't know if you know this or not, but injection molding is still more crisp, and you can get a lot more finite detail than 3D printing. Just the materials we're using. That could change soon, but right now, this is miles beyond what I was trying to do. It's fantastic. This was something that was sorely missing from all of our Tiger kits. So this sprue is fantastic. Is it worth paying $80 for? You know, I don't know. It's kind of up to you. Now we've got some clear parts. The ring for the cupola, clear periscopes, the driver's thing, which I usually leave out, by the way. And more periscopes. Tons of periscopes. Everything looks as clear as tiny plastic can be. Very good. Hard to be impressed by clear plastic, though. Here's our standard gun sprue. Hasn't changed since, well, forever. But I like it. It builds up really nicely, so I don't have a problem with it. Spent shell basket, the early type commander's hatch, the top of the early cupola, gun breech stuff. This mantlet, I don't know if there's an option to use it or not. 131 has a Tiger P mantlet, and there is one in here, I haven't seen it yet. 3-piece brake, more parts of the barrel, 2 pistol ports. Hasn't changed in 10 years, still looks really good. Same with this guy. This has been in everything we've ever had. This is the cowlings for the exhaust, the larger, earlier idler wheel. Wow, that was a tough sentence to say. Final drive housings, sprockets, swing arms for the idler. Very good. Getting a little old, but again, not flashy and does its job, so it's fine with me. Here we have the elusive Tiger P sprue. Well, I say elusive, the annoying Tiger P sprue, because this, if you remember, I think the initial tooling of this was from that old Tiger P kit from like 2000. And it keeps popping up, and I'm not sure why they don't just retool the parts that are on it. It's strange. So, more loader's hatch, older style of early cupola and escape hatch. Pieces for the older style of mantlet they don't use anymore, which is confusing. Maybe this roof is what we want. Maybe they've cleaned this one up a bit. Don't know. A little confused why this guy's in there. Not a whole lot on it either. They've clearly taken the half turrets off of here. There's usually 3. 2 for the initial and then another part for the escape hatch for earlies. Well, everything on there looks pretty good. Here is our upper deck of the hull. Man, those details pop. Holy cow. There's the bits to glue on for where the headlights would go. Some other little stuff. It's just listed as Tiger 1 early. This was the same in the Wittmann. There's our louver for the intakes, and a very, very nice tow cable. That's very pretty. I mean, I would, as it stands, I mean, I'm not making recommendations for or against, because that's not really what I'm here to do. I'm just here to show you what's there. One of these 2 Tigers, it would behoove you to build, either this or the Wittmann, because there was a lot of new in the Wittmann one. And they're very, very nice. Then we got this. Again, from the Wittmann, you can tell by the Dragon had just started doing this kind of rounded tow cable arrangement. And they put mud flaps on here. They used to give you the late sprue just to get those. There's our front plate. Doesn't have the little screws for the dust cover or any of that on there. I think those are separate plastic. There's our hull sides, very clean. Here we have shovel with clasps. That's fantastic. A crowbar. Some track hanger stuff, little just bits for the back of the engine deck. Those are the brackets for the mud flaps. Close support weapon or close defense weapon, whatever you want to call it. And our rear plate. I don't know if this is a name on it or not, but all this is at oldest from the Wittmann kit. It's very, very nice. Good stuff. So here we have another front plate, some smoke launchers, top of the turret. Not sure why this is in here. Some jack parts. There's something on here they want us to use, clearly. I mean, everything looks really good. Sorry. Yep, so I don't know what particular piece, but there's something on here that we need. Maybe it was the holes here. So here is the ever famous, these are both super standard sprues. R sprue and I don't know what its name is, C sprue. This has been on every Tiger ever. Maybe not the initial, but s.Pz.Abt.504 this was in there. So that gives you your side fenders, and your standard exhaust cover shroud things. Parts for the, I'm guessing these might be the older exhaust top thing. Later sprockets, I'm guessing? Yeah, late sprockets. Everything still looks good, nothing's wrecked, but these sprues are getting kind of long in the tooth. And honestly, there are more Tigers for me to review that I have, and it takes me a good couple of weeks to want to do another one, because I essentially am reviewing the same sprues over and over again, but they still look good, they still get the job done. Alright, so this is from s.Pz.Abt.504. This is the Snorkel. We've got a dust cover, the deep weighting cover, torsion bars, your kind of front plate without mud flaps, and then your nice slide molded cupola. Here we've got two mantlets, neither of which are Tiger P. We've got binocular sight and binocular sight with rain guard. That's a pretty old sprue. Still looks pretty nice though. This is definitely from the Wittmann kit. Mine's a little bent, but that's okay. Let's check these mantlets. Here we go. The Holy Grail. A Dragon-style Tiger P mantlet. Dragon had a Tiger P mantlet of the old style of maybe how Tamiya does them, but I've never seen one like this. I know there was one in the Autocarius 217 kit with Zimmerit on it. I didn't even realize this when I built 131 myself, so I just have a standard early mantlet on there. It's annoying. I was actually planning on rebuilding 131 anyway with my knowledge increased, so I will probably build that with this. There's another roof plate. Very, very nice. It's of the early type because the ventilator's back here. Two separate bits for the rear. The difference being this is on this one and not on this one. More smoke launchers, pistol port with the interior detail. That's new in the Wittmann, so that's only about a year old or less. And then this, I think, is the bottom of the Wittmann Tiger's turret, but we have that new piece for this one. So this is only, the second time this sprue has been used as a sprue arrangement, and I think there was some addition to it with this Tiger P mantlet. The other one being just a standard early binocular sight mantlet. So everything on here is very modern, very crisp, fantastic looking. I was not aware that this was in here, and I'm kind of pleased. This is the 5-hole sprue from the Wittmann one, so here's your later style 5-holes. In the best possible way ever, where this is the primary bit and you just glue this to that, and even the little connectors for the hoses are separate pieces. It's a very cool sprue. And then here we have some early Tiger links with separate guide horns, which are a pain but look nice. This is from the Wittmann kit as well, both of these, and they're brand new and gorgeous. So I assume you use a lot of this on this kit's 5-holes, and then you'll just have spare of these, which I'm fine with that. Got a little bent part here. This is the new toolbox, so maybe this is another new sprue? Or it was new in the Wittmann kit, I'm not sure which. I don't see a name on it. Alright, so the parts we're looking at are a bunch of tiny little things I can't really identify. These are the new S-mine launchers, okay. New shovel. Most of these are just such little parts. Jack block. It's a very nice jack block. Still smooth on the sides though, come on guys. Man, everything on here is just tiny. I'm not really sure what that's about. These look like Russian tow cable things, or maybe Allied tow cable things. The eyelets. Everything on here is crazy small. If anybody's ever wondering what I'm talking about when I compare older style moldings to newer ones, well, this would be newer. Like, just so small it makes your head hurt. And that toolbox looks really nice. Yeah, this is fantastic sprue. This is the new S-Mine launcher assembly and some newer tools. So, very good. And we also had some more spare tracks, just like that other part of that sprue I already showed. Then we have this 2 times over, which is our swing arms that will go into the torsion bars, our correct style smoke launchers with the notch cut out. I'm guessing these are the separate smoke grenades. The wicked drive sprocket with 3 different hubs so you can pick different types. I think really early and a late. Some more parts for the exhausts. I didn't spot where the new exhaust parts are, but I'm glad they addressed that issue. But this again only dates back to the Wittmann kit, so about 6 months, and it's really, really nice. I also like that they don't have attachment points up here. Some Tigers do, and that's the hard part to clean up. They put those attachment points in a very good spot. I'm pretty impressed with it overall, but in the same way that I'm impressed with the Wittmann Command Tiger. So I have them both, and I haven't built either yet, and that feels a little silly, because a lot of what is new and exciting to me in here was new and exciting in the Wittmann kit, and I haven't taken advantage of it yet. So, like I said, if you don't have either, I definitely recommend you get one of them, because they are pretty high above the other ones. I still love 6383, the late with Zimmerit, but right above that would be this one or the Wittmann one, because they're slowly replacing the old sprues with new stuff. So as much as we want to complain about Dragon's business practices, if you wait long enough, they'll give you a new Tiger kit. And I obviously liked 131 enough to build it once anyway. I would suggest, again, though, aftermarket tracks of some kind. These are AFV Club or Friul something. I'm not fond of DS unless you want to use the pin method, but you know, overall, I don't like paying $80 for anything, especially tank models, because you can build a pretty, you know, my Tamiya one costs probably $30 with some photo etch, and I think the aftermarket tracks were 20, so maybe, you know, 60 when all is said and done. And this is a lot. But it's kind of up to, you know, if you want a painless build of it, where you already have this step and you already have the handle, and it's definitely a popular tank, so I don't think they'll have a hard time marketing this, because when you look for Tiger tank reference, when you get into modeling Tigers, you want good reference. The only good reference is of 131, and people get to see it in person and go in it and smell it driving by, and it gets into people's soul a little bit. So I think this will sell really, really well. But I don't know that I would recommend it as the first Tiger for people. I still think 6383 is a good, cheaper kit. But this is pretty good, but just try to remember that it's very, 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 very similar to the Wittmann Command Tiger kit. So now you know.